श्रीभगवानुवाच अक्षरं ब्रह्म परमं स्वभावोऽध्यात्ममुच्यते भूतभावोद्भवकरः विसर्गकर्मसंज्ञितः.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha. Krishna answers, Aksharam Brahma Paramam. The imperishable is Brahman, the supreme. What a definition. In 3 words, he's answered the whole question. Its own nature is Adhyatma, inner self. So he's clarifying that there is no difference between Brahman and Atman. That which causes the birth of beings is called karma, action. So in this verse, he covers the first 3 questions. What is Brahman? What is Adhyatma? What is karma? Aksharam Brahma Paramam. Brahman is imperishable. The moment he says imperishable, and you look around in the world, you find everything in the world perishes. So therefore, what is it that is imperishable? And this search for the imperishable, never mind getting the answer, just looking for it, just the understanding that the world which gives things, as we've seen earlier, adi anta, that everything in the world perishes, including yourself. And if it perishes, is it worth all the effort? Is it worth all the trauma? Is it worth all the stress that you go through, is the question. And then comes when you understand that everything in the world perishes, that nothing sustains, nothing remains with you, and that more so, every time some aspect of the world, whatever it is that you are interacting with, whatever it is that you are attached to, if any one of them goes, it causes terrible suffering and pain to you. And when you go through that even once, you understand it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. You may get 1 year of happiness, you get a lifetime of misery arising out of that. So then you understand, like Nachiketas understood, that there's nothing in the world that you can depend on. And that's when the surge comes, this mumukshatva is born in you, the desire for liberation from the trauma of the world. And the seeking itself gives so much pleasure. It doesn't matter whether you get the answer or not. It doesn't matter whether you reach Brahman or not. The fact that you're searching is in itself so fulfilling. I don't know if you've experienced this. You wake up early morning and read a few verses of the Gita or whatever scriptural matter that you have before you. And it gives a sense of enduring peace. It gives you a sense of security that nothing else in the world gives. And this is something that as you search, then you understand that there is something, in spite of all this that perishes in the world, in and through all this, there is something that does not perish. There is something that remains with you at all times. And what is that something? I'm not asking you for an answer. I'm asking you to question, to ask yourself, to look for it in the world. That's why they say that God plays hide and seek with us. You feel He's there. You feel that is permanent. And you get there, there's nothing there. And again you look. Again He's gone. And this search, the more you search, the deeper you go, the greater is the satisfaction that you get. Aksharam Brahma Paramam. This is what Yajnavalkya, the great Upanishadic master, told Gargi in a spiritual conference. Gargi is the great woman philosopher. So therefore in India you didn't have gender bias. He says, Etat aksharam gargi. This, exactly the same word. He says, this is imperishable, O Gargi. His own being is Adhyatma, Atman. The sun and the sun's rays are the same, they are inseparable. Total space and the space in this hall are the same, it's only a difference in terminology. Similarly, you refer to it as Brahman when you're talking of the universe, you refer to that same divine spark as Atman when you're talking about the individual you. Then he tells us, how does karma come? When he says karma, he means not just action, he means the whole process. Where does karma come from? Desire. Where does desire come from? Thought. Where does thought come from? Vasana. So, when he says karma, he means the whole lot. So, where does all this come from? Where does action come from? It comes from eventually vasana, and vasana is nothing but ignorance. Ignorance of the self, ignorance of Atman. So, when you don't know, let's take an example. When you don't see a rope as a rope, the ignorance of the rope is what causes the birth of the snake. So that snake does not come from another snake, that snake comes from ignorance of the rope. Similarly, here he says, it is that which causes the birth of beings is called karma. So that which causes the birth, the whole world, the whole universe that you're seeing has come from ignorance of Atman. Just as the entire dream that you've experienced last night emerged from ignorance of the waker. So, that which creates the birth of beings is called karma. In other words, he's just given a theory of creation. Now, all theories of creation are basically flawed. You know why? Because the truth is that there is no creation. At the end of the day, this entire world, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, the entire world is nothing but a projection. So if you give a theory of creation, it's like saying, I'm giving a theory of creation of the snake. There is no snake. The reality is that there is no snake. So all theories will fall apart. But then you might wonder, why does he give a theory of creation? Because you are seeing a world. And when you see the world, the question arises, where does this world come from? Say, world comes from Brahman, and this creative urge in Brahman is what causes. Creative urge is nothing but thought, vasana, causes the whole universe to emerge, the birth of all beings. Verse